Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to dive into one of the wildest concepts out there, time travel. Imagine being able to go forwards or backwards in time to revisit important moments or even live your life from a certain point all over again. Would you do it? And what if traveling through time could actually split reality, creating a new version of the world with slight, mysterious changes, like in the Mandela Effect? Now, let's talk about some real-life historical mysteries. During World War II, the leaders of Germany were obsessed with ancient artifacts. They believed that objects like the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and relics from ancient Sumer could help them achieve global domination. But it gets even weirder. Some people say they were actually searching for gateways to other worlds, or even paths to other times. Let's start with the Anunnaki. These were ancient gods from Sumerian mythology, believed to be powerful beings who ruled both the heavens and the earth. According to the legends, they created humans to serve them, to do hard labor and offer them sustenance. In some stories, they even brought humans to life out of clay, with a bit of divine magic. In the 1930s, archaeologists discovered cylinder seals in the Middle East. These were like tiny stone rollers with carvings and symbols on them, dating back thousands of years. Some of these seals supposedly included symbols and instructions from the Anunnaki themselves, possibly hinting at portals or Stargates that could connect different parts of the universe or even enable time travel. And the Germans wanted these seals as they believed that if they could control a Stargate, they might unlock powers or technology from the gods, or maybe even from extraterrestrial beings. This brings us to one of the most famous stories in the realm of German supertech, Die Glocke, or the bell. This device is often described as a bell-shaped object about 12 feet tall, made of heavy metal, and filled with a mysterious substance called Cerium-525, which was rumored to be dangerously radioactive. The bell had two rotating cylinders, and it's said that when they turned, it generated strange effects like anti-gravity and even a time bubble. Some people believe that this was part of a secret German project to create time travel technology. Imagine the Germans as chrononauts, trying to escape to another time or send information back to an earlier point in history. Near where Die Glocke was supposedly tested, there's a strange structure called the Henge, which some believe was a base or test site for this wonder weapon. At the end of World War II, Die Glocke seemed to vanish without a trace. Did it fall into Allied hands? Some people think it might have been smuggled out to the US or the Soviet Union, fueling even more theories about secret technology programs after the war. In fact, Operation Paperclip, the US program to bring former German scientists to America, could have included scientists who worked on projects like Die Glocke. Imagine being able to see into the past and future, to explore different timelines, and maybe even change them. We're talking secret government experiments, alternate realities, the Mandela Effect, and how 2012 might just be the year everything changed. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with the basics. Project Looking Glass is this supposed top-secret government project that, according to the story, developed technology allowing people to view and maybe even manipulate time itself. Think of it like a giant high-tech crystal ball, a device that lets you look across different points in time and some say even change the events you see. Creepy, right? The story goes that this device is a circular machine with powerful electromagnets and quartz crystals inside, supposedly creating a vortex or wormhole. The operator would sit in a central chair, focusing their mind on specific dates, events, or locations they wanted to see. With practice, operators could even peek into possible futures and predict outcomes based on different choices. The goal: to help leaders make decisions based on how things might turn out. Now, here's where things get really intense. One of the biggest parts of the Project Looking Glass theory involves December 21st, 2012, the end date of the Mayan calendar. Researchers reportedly found that when they looked past this date, they hit a dead end. All possible timelines seem to converge, showing nothing beyond that point. People thought this meant an apocalyptic event, or maybe even a huge shift in human consciousness that would change reality forever. When the world didn't end in 2012, some theorists reinterpreted it. Maybe it wasn't a physical end, but a shift in awareness, a time when people's consciousness evolved. This could explain why we're still here, even if things feel a little different. So, here's where Project Looking Glass connects to the idea of two major timelines. First, there's Timeline 1, a positive future where humanity evolves. People develop abilities like telepathy, and there's greater peace and understanding. Then there's Timeline 2, a dystopian future filled with chaos, war, and control by a totalitarian government. According to some, Project Looking Glass was used to try to guide us toward the positive Timeline 1, but certain elites, maybe even secret groups like the Illuminati, were allegedly pushing us toward Timeline 2. Which timeline do you think we're living in right now? All right, let's talk about something a lot of you have probably heard of, the Mandela Effect. This is where tons of people remember certain details one way, only to find out they're totally different. It's named after Nelson Mandela, because a lot of people remember him dying in the 1980s, even though he was released from prison in 1990 and became president of South Africa. Other examples? People swear that the evil queen in Snow White said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," but in reality it's actually "magic mirror on the wall." Then there's the classic Britney Spears' "Oops, I Did It Again" music video. Many remember her wearing a headset, but she wasn't. And my favorite, the James Bond movie Moonraker, where Jaws, the villain, smiles at Dolly. Everyone remembers Dolly smiling back with metal braces, but she didn't have braces at all. Wild, right? So, what's causing these mass memory mix-ups? Some say it's just faulty memory, but others think it might be connected to CERN and their Large Hadron Collider. In 2012, CERN scientists confirmed the discovery of the Higgs boson, or God particle. Some Mandela Effect theorists believe this might have messed with reality itself, creating alternate timelines. Maybe that's why things feel a little off sometimes. And here's a crazy thought. What if Project Looking Glass isn't humanity's first attempt at peeking into the future? Some believe we've built advanced civilizations before, only to see them crumble. What if ancient societies had tech that was even more advanced than ours? Think about it. If you could go back in time, maybe you'd find technology that defies everything we know today. Picture time as a tree branch. If you pull down on that branch, you can change its direction as it grows. But if you let go, it snaps back to its original path. Same with time. You might be able to go back and change things, but for that change to stick, you'd have to stay in that timeline and keep pulling on that branch, and so have to live from that point on over again. Imagine having your current memories and going back to a certain point in your life. Would you make different choices? Knowing you'd risk changing the things you love, would you still go back? What about those famous time traveler photos? People love to point out things like modern-looking gadgets or clothes in old pictures, but most of these are misunderstandings, like a cell phone that's actually a portable radio, or a guy in modern clothes that were actually normal for the time. Let's look at that one. Just sharpen this photo up a bit and zoom in a bit. Yes, those are old-school sunnies, and he is wearing a t-shirt dubbed which is said to be odd or before the picture's time, but t-shirts were made from just before 1900, so are way older than this. Sorry, but it doesn't look like time travelers left any photos or videos of themselves behind. The Philadelphia experiment is the name given to a 1943 military experiment in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the USA, where the Navy destroyer the USS Eldridge was to be made invisible to enemy devices. Reports say the ship disappeared and went backwards in time and reappeared on the coast of Virginia, hundreds of miles away, with crew now fused into the metal of the ship. There is only one source for this story, and he was known to be a hoaxer, and even said, this was a hoax. But who knows for sure? Now, if that doesn't give you chills, let's talk about ancient sites where rock has been turned into glass. This happens when rocks are exposed to extreme heat. Think temperatures high enough to melt stone. Around the world, we've got places like the Libyan desert glass, Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, and in the UK. Yep, in Scotland there are these Iron Age forts with walls that have been partially melted into glass. Two famous examples are Tap O'Noth and Dun Deerdale. The big question is, how? Melting stone takes an insane amount of heat, more than what ancient fires could produce. Some people think it might have been an attempt to make the walls stronger, but here's the twist. It actually makes the walls weaker. So why go to all that effort? Some theories suggest that ancient civilizations might have had access to powerful heat sources, maybe even nuclear-like technology. Others wonder if there was some kind of forgotten method or technology that allowed them to do this. Or maybe we're looking at the remains of something else. Something we don't fully understand yet. Crazy, right? And now, here's where things get really weird. We all know dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago, way before humans came along. But there are some strange artifacts out there that suggest otherwise. Let's go through a few of the most famous examples and you be the judge. First, we've got the Ica stones in Peru. These are carved stones that depict all kinds of strange things, like humans interacting with dinosaur-like creatures. Some stones even show scenes that look like surgeries and advanced technology. Skeptics argue these stones are modern fakes, but others say they could be evidence of forgotten knowledge. Next up, the Acambaro figures in Mexico. These little ceramic figurines show humans alongside what look like dinosaurs. Discovered in the 1940s, these figures have sparked debates ever since. Are they just someone's imagination, or were the artists trying to tell us something? And in Cambodia, there's a 12th century temple called Ta Prohm, with a carving that looks suspiciously like a stegosaurus. It has plates along its back, just like the dinosaur we all know. Some people think it's just a coincidence or a different animal entirely, but it does look pretty close. These aren't the only examples, though. We've also got Bishop Bell's tomb in England with engravings that look like long-necked dinosaurs, Native American rock art that shows creatures with long necks and tails, and even ancient Mesopotamian seals that some say resemble dinosaur-like creatures. Mainstream scientists say it's impossible for humans and dinosaurs to have ever coexisted, but these artifacts have led some people to wonder if there's more to the story. Did ancient humans have knowledge passed down about dinosaurs? Or could they have even seen them somehow? Here's one mind-bending idea. What if advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout Earth's history? Imagine if humans, or even another species, reached a high level of technology, only to be wiped out by some massive catastrophe. If you were one of the few survivors, knowledge about computers or machines wouldn't help you as much as knowing how to grow food or build shelter. Over generations, all that advanced knowledge would get lost, and history would start all over again. Let's dive into an ancient mystery that shows up in stories from all over the world: the Great Flood. You might know the story of Noah's Ark from the Bible, but did you know that many other cultures have their own Great Flood stories? Let's break down some of the biggest flood legends and the theories behind them. All right, first up is one of the oldest flood stories we know about, the Mesopotamian flood, which goes back to around 2900 BCE. This story comes from a famous piece of writing called the Epic of Gilgamesh. It tells of a massive flood that nearly wipes out humanity, except for one guy named Utnapishtim, who survives by building a boat. Sound familiar? Yup, it's a lot like Noah's Ark. Some historians think this could be based on a real flood that happened in ancient Iraq thousands of years ago. Speaking of Noah's Ark, let's talk about the biblical flood. The story is in the Bible, and it's similar to the Mesopotamian tale. While we don't know an exact date, some scholars think if this event happened, it could have been around 3000 to 2000 BCE. The idea is that both stories might come from the same ancient memory of a big flood, just told in different cultures. Another cool theory is called the Black Sea Deluge theory. This idea says that around 5600 BCE, the Mediterranean Sea flooded into the Black Sea because of a natural dam breaking. This would have flooded a huge area, wiping out settlements and possibly inspiring some of these ancient flood stories. And it's not just Mesopotamia and the Bible. Flood stories show up in cultures all over the world. In India, ancient Hindu texts talk about a hero named Manu who was warned by a fish to build a boat to survive a flood. In Greece, there's a story about Deucalion and Pyrrha who survive a flood caused by the god Zeus. And in China, ancient texts mention the Great Flood of Gunyu, which supposedly covered the land for decades. These stories all share the idea of a massive flood, but come from totally different parts of the world. So, what could explain all these flood stories? Well, scientists have found evidence that rivers like the Tigris, Euphrates, and Nile had big floods in ancient times. And as glaciers melted after the Ice Age, sea levels rose, which could have flooded coastal areas. This might have made a big impression on ancient people and led to the stories we hear today. If you've ever wondered what would happen if you could travel back in time and change something crucial, or if there's any chance of actually building a Stargate, buckle up, because we're going on a mind-bending journey. Imagine this. You're a time traveler, and you go back in time to stop your grandfather from ever meeting your grandmother. Maybe you even prevent him from having kids at all. So, if he never had children, that means your parents were never born, which means you were never born, which means... Wait, who's even traveling back in time to mess things up in the first place? This paradox is all about cause and effect. If you mess with the past, does it mess with your future? Classic time travel movies love this idea, but what if there's another way to look at it? One way to think about this is through alternate timelines. What if going back in time just creates a new timeline? You might make changes in the past, but it doesn't affect the original timeline you came from. It's like making a copy of a file, where any edits you make don't change the original. So, in theory, you could change the past in this alternate timeline without erasing yourself. But here's a twist. What if changes you make only exist while you're there? Picture this. You pop into the past, tell your dad not to marry your mom, then leave. When you return to the present, everything snaps back to how it was because you're not around in that past anymore. It's like time is only flexible when you're there. Once you're gone, the timeline rewinds to where it was. Crazy idea, right? That's my theory. Ever had deja vu? That eerie feeling where you feel like you've lived the exact moment before? What if it's actually a glitch from a reset in the timeline? Like maybe someone from the future came back to our time, changed a few things, then left, forcing time to rewind itself to the moment they arrived, leaving a little trace of that original experience in your memory. Imagine this. A time traveler arrives on January 1st, 2025 at 1 p.m. and stays for 24 hours. When they leave, everything snaps back to 1 p.m. on January 1st, without the time traveler's interference. So, when you experience deja vu, you're actually picking up on the ghost of a timeline that's been reset. Pretty wild, huh? Since we're talking about ancient mysteries, let's quickly look at one of the wildest theories out there: ancient Stargates. Some believe ancient structures like Stonehenge, the Gate of the Gods in Peru, and the Great Pyramid of Giza might have been portals to other worlds. Stonehenge, England. Some say it's a Stargate due to its mysterious layout and alignment with the solstices, but archaeologists consider it more of a ceremonial or astronomical site. Gate of the Gods, Peru. A carved rock near Lake Titicaca has inspired Stargate theories, but it's just a mysterious door-shaped carving with no observed phenomena. Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. The pyramid's precise construction has fueled Stargate theories, though no energy fields or hidden technology have been found to support that. But here's the thing. Would you even be able to bring a Stargate with you? If you traveled back before it was built, would it still work? Some theories suggest that only objects that existed at that time would remain, meaning the Stargate would disappear if you went back before the Stargate was built. You'd have to build a new Stargate in each time period to get back to the future. But if you're wondering if portals could exist scientifically, here's where wormholes come into play. Theoretically, they could connect distant points in space-time, but they remain unproven and require exotic matter, which doesn't exist in our world as we know it. Could these myths be memories passed down of real events, or are they just symbolic stories? Let me know what you think in the comments below. So, if you're ready to make your own Stargate, here are some theories on what might be needed. 1. Location and alignment. Some believe Stargates have to be aligned with specific stars or cosmic events. Could the position of stars have powered these Stargates in ancient times? 2. Materials. These sites are all stone, but maybe it's more about how they're shaped or what type of stone is used. What if the rocks in these areas have unique energy properties? 3. Unknown energy source. This could be the trickiest part. Maybe they required an energy source we don't understand yet or was only accessible at specific times in history. Is it sound that makes the portal work? In some ancient stories, it's said that these massive stones used to build Stargates were levitated into place using other stones. This idea ties into the idea of sound and frequency. Could these stones have been activated using vibrations or sonic waves to float and come together, forming a portal? You might have heard about the connection between sound and reality. Some believe that frequencies, like the Hallelujah chords David played, could have been the key to unlocking these ancient technologies. Could it be that certain harmonic frequencies, maybe even musical notes, triggered the stones to align and form a Stargate? What if those notes were the key to opening a portal? Tesla famously said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." So, what if that's exactly the secret he was hinting at? Tesla unlocked wireless energy, and many believe he understood how to harness the power of frequency. Could he have known the secret to activating a Stargate through the right combination of energy and vibration? Now, let's talk about George Van Tassel and his wild dream of the Integratron in the California desert. This structure, partly funded by Howard Hughes, was designed to harness the Earth's geomagnetic forces to amplify energy, possibly allowing for anti-gravity, rejuvenation, and even time travel. Inspired by Moses' tabernacle, Tesla's writings, and alien contact, Van Tassel believed that sound and energy could unlock some of the universe's deepest mysteries. What do you think? Are we getting closer to unlocking the secrets of the universe? Could the Stargates be real, waiting for the right moment to open? Let us know your thoughts below. Let's keep the conversation going. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more mind-blowing mysteries. See you next time, whatever time we meet again in